I'm Gabriel Hernandez. This is Watch Your DM. Today we're going to cover the Divisible Man Adventure Guide. It's a adventure for 5e, written by Austin Holm, and it is written for 3 to 5 adventurers of about level 4. The premise of the adventure is that a crazy genius, Da Vinci, has invented the bomb. Yeah, the bomb. And in kind of a self-quarrel about the morality of such a thing, he has decided to split himself in half. So into his left and right sides. Now those two sides war in his interdimensional manse, unwilling to kind of resolve the ethical issue at hand. One is a creative super nut, and the other is the technically minded left side. They are also fighting over a muse who is kind of central to their inspiration and hangs out with right, but is lusted after by left. The adventure begins with the party being pulled through a portal. There's a couple of different ways that you can execute on this, but effectively a duplicate of one of the heroes stumbles out before dying from their extensive wounds is the way it's written. You can also have an angel of division appear, or they can be pulled into a piece of art that has leaked out of the art section of the adventure. The key here is structured C for center, L for left, and R for right. So it's pretty easy to get your bearings. We do have the general features section where you get information about the lighting, how tall the ceilings are, and the doors for the dungeon in general. Random encounter table for different things in the dungeon. The scattered secrets is kind of a core piece of this. Da Vinci's journal is full of information, kind of the secrets and clues of this adventure. And so having them show up and having the party get a sense of what's gone on over time can be critical to them making decisions about how to operate in this adventure. When they get into the foyer, the kind of central area, it comes to their attention that they've been summoned effectively by the Mind Mathematical, which is like a Jarvis for the mansion, although the current Mind Mathematical is brain damaged as his inner workings have been thrown into chaos, partially by the ant revolution that is happening. We'll get into that later. In the foyer, when you're playing the Mind Mathematical, it can be a lot of fun to play him as glitchy and a little forgetful. Have fun with this character. I've done it like Data and Lore from Star Trek The Next Generation, which is kind of a broken AI. You can play it kind of like GLaDOS from Portal. But yeah, there's a lot of opportunity here to have a lot of fun with a kind of computer robot type character that is not all well. The garbage room contains the corpses of the adventurers from previous attempts. So the idea here is that the Mind Mathematical has been pulling the same adventuring group into this reality to try and solve this problem kind of on repeat. And this is the adventurer's turn to go through it. But they have been through it before, just from different realities. Kind of a fun play on the idea there. Of course, they can do whatever they want. This is a great opportunity, though, to basically double up on items that are hard to duplicate or hard to get copies of, even if you just want them for safekeeping. The circular hallway surrounds the inner rooms for guest lodging. Currently, there is really only one guest in the place, and that is Mismo Tambien, who is effectively a talentless egomaniac who considers himself the best living artist. This can be a really, really fun encounter. Just make sure that he's in C6, C7. Make sure that Mismo Tambien is played as a pompous ass who really has no taste at all, but acts like he is the tastemaker. It's a lot of fun to play this character, but he is effectively a noble. If he runs into himself, his mind will basically explode. Their egos collapse and they die. Otherwise, there's stuff in those rooms. So you can get rations or painter's kits. There's some paint thinner, which can be used later. There's also a dining room and a kitchen in this central area, and the one kind of leads to the other. There's like a secret door between them. And inside of the kitchen is a giant cheese golem named Rockford. And you probably, he knows that the egg that hatches the future is here. This is a really, really bizarre item, and if the party stumbles into this or figures their way into this, this can be a great way to add some very strange spice to your campaign. So depending on how the eggs are cooked, different things will happen. But as kind of a brief example, poached, it all runs together a bit. Next time you take downtime, you take actions as though you had twice as much. So very minor effect, right? Versus omelet. For your refinement, you receive a glimpse of the future. It's a little bleak, but people seem to be making it work, +1 intelligence and a bit of hope. So you know a little bit more about the future, hence you can act a little more intelligently. At the other side, outside of the central surrounding rooms, there are 2 exits onto the balcony. And the balcony itself is basically just overlooking a kind of 5th dimensional vortex, if you will. So it is going to drive anybody unfamiliar with 5th dimensionality a little bit bonkers. So they will take psychic damage from gazing at it if they're unsuccessfully basically averting their eyes. Going into the left, there is the laboratory. This is where Left does all of his work and has his living quarters. So the lepidopterium is where he used to sleep, and it has since become one of his hobby rooms as he no longer sleeps. And inside of the lepidopterium is a mummified moth emperor from another planet that he has captured and pinned to the wall. This is a super fun encounter as he can telepathically basically talk to the PCs and try and convince them to unpin him. If they do, he will attack, but he is also covered in jewelry that can be totally swiped. So he's a fun character to play. If you just imagine a super, like, he's undead, right? He's an ancient mummy from a planet where moths are the ruling species. So space mummy moth thing. Yeah, go there. Go as far there as you can. It's super fun. The left hallway leads to kind of the rest of the area over here with the ant farm. The ant farm is effectively where the army ant revolution, or there's a civil war going on with the ants about whether or not to obey the queen, as the ants feel she has kind of handed her reign over to the bipeds, and effectively there is a possibility for the party to kind of engage with this and try and find some medium or wipe out one of the sides, or they can kill everything. It's kind of up to them. But yeah, the ant farm is a super fun place if you want to tackle some political intrigue at the micro scale. Then going into the laboratory B and the basement warehouse and the workshop, all of these are effectively areas where Da Vinci has a bunch of his inventions are all there, including the resizinator, where the party can shrink down to go interact with the ants if they like, or they can increase the size of things. Now, there is a effect table, so it is random when you roll it. So yeah, good luck. Have fun. The basement warehouse is, again, one of those dimensionally altered places where it's bigger on the inside. But if the party searches around down there, they will eventually find the Cockroach King. And he is basically so in a universe where somebody has invented the nuclear bomb, the Cockroach King is destined to be the king of the world. And so the cult has basically gathered up around him and also is operating as the assistants for Da Vinci, as they want to help him kind of speed this along. So, the Cockroach King is on a tiny golden ziggurat, but if you can take control of him or threaten him in a successful and convincing way, the cult will kind of cede to what you're doing. Ultimately, all of the cultists are clones. And yeah, that's how this area works. The workshop itself has Da Vinci in it. He is willing to basically offer the party some reward for going and wiping out Wright while he continues work on the bomb. Otherwise, they can fight him. That's totally an option. There is Tesla coils in the room that can be enabled or disabled, and they'll start doing electrical damage to everybody except for Da Vinci, whom it will heal as he fights as a flesh golem. A cool way to think about Da Vinci is he basically he's like half cybernetic, so his right side is kind of cybernetic. It's kind of a Frankenstein monster. Heading into the right side, we start with the portraiture, which is a section of artwork filled with portraits of, famous people or whatever. So all of the portraits can have, this is a great place to kind of pin out some of your favorite celebrity personalities or historical personalities, fantasy historical personalities, basically anything you want in your world to be represented here in this portrait gallery. And then have these portraits kind of, they're nervous wrecks. So this is them at their absolute fucking worst. They're distrustful, they're self-important, they're kind of everything, but they're actually under attack. They're actually under attack from the acrylic kind of avant-garde, the assault of the more abstract. They will attack the party if not, if provoked. Basically, they're fighting against the avant-garde, so whichever side the party wants to side with, they can. There is a landscape wing, is the next part of the gallery. Effectively, this is where I think the majority of the combat is going to go on between the avant-garde and the portraiture. The landscape wing is like they're fighting over the territory that is represented in the landscape wing. And so there's a gibbering mouther in here entitled Voltaire's Bastard. Death of a Snailsman fights as a mimic. And then there's acrylic archers. Those are just basically thugs. And the paint thinner on against all of these painting themed monsters acts as acid. So if you use it, it's an acid attack. It does damage over time, etc. This is a very nice portrait of the Divisible Man done by my friend. And yeah, we get to R3, the avant-garde. So this is the expressionist graffiti abstract art section of the gallery. There's a cubist abomination that fights as a shambling mound that will sneak up on the party. Portrait of the artist as a product for consumption is a gigantic middle finger sculpted from ham and nails. And it speaks as the leader for the avant-garde. He is shrewd and relatively lucid compared to his comrades. And he views the war as the landscape wing as just. So, these are two sides having a just war over something that the party should recognize very immediately is not a real thing to have a war over. It's art fighting art over art, which is, I don't know. Conceptually, it's very fun. If you can get your party's head there, it's a pretty cool encounter. This whole section's a lot of fun. R4 contains D-capital idea is a massive stone head of a noble-looking man is kind of in the center of this gallery. It's like a statue gallery. It's kind of a social encounter. He knows all about the bomb, the anti-life dimension, and Lynch's indecision. He's a great place for you to bestow additional information on the party. So really understanding this guy, the hierarch's head, and communicating as him is a very powerful way to get the party to kind of get the content, get the concept of what's going on, and make a decision. He can be used as an NPC to talk them through the decisions that they've made, as he's basically peaceful. He's not gonna he has the information needed for the party to make the right decision, whatever that may be, and he'll help them to get there. So it's a lot of fun. And then R5 is the studio. This is where Wright is painting in his Shea Lounge, and Muse is dancing and hanging out. Basically, Wright will attempt to hire the players to kill Left if they come here first. If they come here to kill him, Muse will totally fight on his behalf. He doesn't really have much in the way of fighting capabilities himself, so Muse is kind of his stand-in. I mean, he does fight as a prone noble with a speed of 0. So, yeah. And then Calliope is the muse, and she's the difficult one. She kind of does the most. She's got a stat block a little later on. And then going into the garden, which is the last room, there is, it's a beautiful garden that has been warped. some very weird stuff growing in here. Neon roses, a small grove of whatever you like trees, jazz playing cabbages, infernal lettuce, horseradish, a glowing pickle tree, and a ham bush. So 5 bush hams, which fight as apes, ambush anyone approaching the ham bush. So it's just like a little ambush in the garden. But this can be a place if you want your party to forage for some food or whatever. This could be a place to get that. And then the resolution of the adventure. So this section here kind of closes out, what the different options are and different ways to handle. So you'll want to familiarize yourself with this section of the adventure. Basically, if the party kills either Left or Right, the mind will reopen the portal. Yeah, it will offer 2,000 gold pieces for the other, like if you take out the other one as well. The mind mathematical will basically not return the players until they vanquish at least one of the doppelgangers or reunite the two halves. It can be reprogrammed with the ants to let them leave early if that's a way of, requires conquering the ants basically. And then, yeah, if left is killed and the players leave, the muse will take control of the manor. The absurdist abominations will dismantle the bomb, and the cockroach cult. A dark god of creativity will be born. So this could be kind of a cool, like in about 20 years' time, basically, a dark goddess of creativity and art comes upon the scene of your campaign world. Could be pretty cool. If Right is killed and the party kidnaps Muse for Left, he completes the bomb. He is then promptly assassinated by the cockroach cult, and they proliferate the bomb, leading to the destruction of countless worlds. So the bomb goes off basically in a bunch of different worlds. If the cult has been wiped out, he builds the bomb, destroys the cancerous dimension, then buries the weapon in an abyssal dimension of antispace, and sets about regenerating himself. So he actually goes about fixing himself once this is resolved. And yeah, if Right is killed, Left survives, and the muse is either dead or free, the bomb will go uncompleted, as Left actually needs the muse to finish the bomb. And then, yeah, if both Left and Right are dead, the muse and the cult will collaborate to find a new iteration of Da Vinci in the multiverse and bring him to the manor. So they kind of reset the problem. And if they manage to reintegrate Left and Right into a whole Da Vinci, he will be furious that they interfered in his adversarial moral epistemology process. He demands the players return what they have taken from his house and kicks them out. If the players travel through the dimensional gate, they can hear him curse, "Now I have to divide myself all over again." If the party can reconcile Left and Right without reintegrating them, they may argue in favor of either building or abandoning the bomb, and the divided Da Vinci's will listen. Especially if the heroes expose the cultists' motives, they get like a bonus on that. And yeah, they'll get 500 gold pieces each and taken back to their own reality. In any outcome where the bomb is not complete, the anti-life dimension it was built to defeat will grow in power until it comes to menace the hero's home dimension. So this is an opportunity for you to inject that nothing in the distance from this adventure. Here's the muse stat block and a picture of that I illustrated of Right and the muse painting a picture of Right. Here is the high color map and of course the license. And yeah, that is the adventure, The Divisible Man. If you have played this adventure or want to talk about anything that we've talked about here, please sound off in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. And otherwise, I hope you have a wonderful time, and we will see you in the next one. Stay weird.